The OHL announced sweeping changes to the Niagara IceDogs late last week. Here to help us break down the news is IceDogs play-by-play announcer Steve Clark. Steve, Thursday's announcement comes after a comprehensive review of the organization by the OHL. The review may have been comprehensive, but the media release was light on details. What are some of the questions you've been asking yourself since you read the league statement?
Well, Mark, first of all, thank you for having me. The first thing I think that I was really troubled by, or I wouldn't say troubled by, but confused by, was that there was no league statement in conjunction with what the IceDogs put out. Now, I know the IceDogs statement probably contained a lot of what the league wanted, but normally in situations like this, the league puts out an independent statement saying, this is what we found out, these are the sanctions, et cetera, et cetera. So I was surprised that I didn't see like a specific league release. Of course, as you know, obviously the sanctions against Niagara are decided by the league. So that was one of them. And then just in general, like the question you have is, what is the short-term and longer-term future of the Niagara IceDogs going to be? And I'm not saying they're going anywhere per se in terms of a different location, but most certainly in terms of the short term, getting new people in place, this workplace culture review, what does it mean for the franchise?
Does the league need to be more transparent with the fan base in terms of the reviews, findings, and the path forward?
I think so. Again, as I said before, I think the league needs to make its own specific statement about what it was. The IceDogs were able to put out kind of, what the league's mandate was, but I would have preferred to see a little bit more transparency from the league, some quotes from Brian Crawford, the commissioner, other people who are involved. And I'm not looking at any groundbreaking quotes, but normally you do get some sort of quote that acknowledges what has happened by the league and obviously by the third-party people who investigated, and a little bit of details about what went into the decisions that were made, how much impact did the league have, how much impact did the IceDogs have, what does it mean going forward? I don't think we got all the answers to those questions. We got a lot of the answers to those questions, but I think that's really kind of what I wanted from the league, because I've always felt that in anything with PR, you get in front of the story and then you have a better chance of kind of controlling it and making sure those pitfalls that normally happen don't occur.
The statement says that owner Darren DeDobler has stepped aside from day-to-day hockey and business matters. Any idea if that was his decision or whether the league forced the issue?
I don't have any insight specifically into that, but I have to believe that was the league's decision myself. It doesn't sound like an owner of any ilk to say I'm stepping back from the day-to-day operations. There are a lot of owners who are just financial backers and don't get involved in hockey ops and some business decisions. Darren DeDobler, he had named himself the general manager originally. It seemed that he didn't want to be very hands-on with the organization. So if I had to make a guess, I'm guessing it was the league that says, okay, we've done this workplace review. We've taken a look at things. Maybe it's time for you to step back. Maybe it's time for some new voices. You can have this specific role, but stepping back day to day might be in the best interest, and we'll see what transpires from that.
Now, the league also announced that last year's coaching staff won't return. After coaching the team to the playoffs, despite the drama behind the scenes, are Ben Boudreau and his staff essentially collateral damage as the league tries to do a franchise reset?
Well, I think that when they did this culture review, they did obviously look to see, what personnel were involved, what were the trigger points, what were some of the issues, what were some of the events, what did the coaching staff do, what did the coaching staff not do? All of these questions were being looked at. So if you do something like that and then you see, well, Coach Boudreau did this or didn't do this, or the assistant coaches didn't know this or weren't involved in that, then yeah, in a sense, if you're doing a complete cultural reset, then it becomes apparent that maybe you just need new voices. And I think that's kind of what happened. I mean, Ben Boudreau was on a longer term contract than the assistant coaches were. So there's that to consider as well. So obviously a lot of thought went into the decision to relieve the coaching staff. I was saddened to see that, only because they're good people. They're good hockey people. They're experienced hockey people who got caught up in a bad situation. And as you said, this team, the first half of the season was fantastic. Second half of the season, they struggled on the ice, and I have to believe the off-the-ice distractions were a part of that.
Now, Steve, will attracting quality candidates for the open GM and head coaching position, will that be difficult?
Well, this is the great question, right? And this is the question I think the fans want answered. You would think that a franchise that has been damaged this much in terms of reputation would have trouble attracting quality candidates. I look at it the complete opposite way and say you have a real chance here to put your stamp on a franchise if you're a general manager and you're a coach. And there's an outside chance that somebody might get that dual portfolio. We've seen it done in the Ontario Hockey League before. So there's a chance here for you to hit the ground running, say, I'm the general manager, I need to talk to players, I'm putting my own cultural stamp in here. We're going to do this in the community, but more importantly, we're going to do this in the dressing room, on the ice, and none of this stuff. It needs to be a strong voice, but it needs to be a connective voice, a voice that can connect with the community, and more importantly, can connect with the players who are waiting to see what the next move is. I would say that they will have no shortage of great experienced candidates for both the general manager and coach's role. If I was in that position, I would be putting in my resume in a hurry because there's a real opportunity here.
Now, Steve, any concerns as to how the fan base will react to this situation?
I think very much so. There's a lot of concern in terms of the fan base because the fan base are your lifeblood. The fan base are what fills the Meridian Center. And those are precious dollars that people work hard for. They can spend them where they want. And if they look at the IceDogs and go, well, that's another 4 coaches in 3 years and, all these off-ice issues, why am I spending my money for this team?
One thing we don't have to rebuild is our broadcasting team. You, Ed, Al, can we see you back in the booth come October?
I don't see any reason why not. With 17 years going into an 18th year, we've all got a little bit older, and we'll leave it up to the fan base and you guys to figure out if we've got a little bit wiser. But we're ready to roll. We love this team, we love this franchise, and I know we all love calling playoff hockey, even though it was only for 2 games this year because we hadn't seen the playoffs since 2019.
Awesome. Well, Steve, have a great summer. We look forward to seeing you and your team back in the broadcast booth in October. Take care.
Thanks so much, Mark.